Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the regular City of Prescott meeting to order. It is Monday, August 12th, just a little bit after 6. Do a roll call. Maureen?
Here.
Adam?
Here.
Dar?
Here.
John?
Here.
Lindsay?
Here.
And Mike is on his way. So would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is public comments. The City Council will receive public comments on any issue related to the agenda, then a discussion by the council may take place. Okay, hearing none. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. The City Council minutes from July 22nd, Personnel Committee minutes from July 31st, Personnel Committee minutes from August 7th, General Fund balances from July, cash balances from July, paid invoices from July, special event permit, Freedom Park, Tuesday, September 15th, from noon to 5. Special event and amplifier permit, Freedom Park, August 16th from 4 to 10. Special event permit, Public Square Park, Saturday, September 8th, Sunday, September 9th for Prescott Days. And approval of Prescott Days parade route on Sunday, September 9th.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items 1 through 10.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Just a quick comment, Mayor.
Go ahead.
Just to note that the special event permit for Prescott Days does have the wrong date. It should say Saturday, September 7th, and Sunday, September 8th, and then the parade will be Sunday, September 8th.
Yeah, I didn't read your note.
Other than that, just wanted to make that note for the minute.
Okay. So then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Next item on the agenda is reports of standing committees and commissions. A is Finance Committee, upcoming budget meetings, proposed meeting number 1, Wednesday, September 18th at 5 o'clock. Proposed meeting number 2, Wednesday, October 9th at 4 o'clock. It's very important that we all are able to make these meetings so we don't have to recant the budget to those who can't make it. So take a look at your calendars and make sure those are all good dates.
They work for me.
Yep, that works for me.
September 8th?
18th.
Oh, 18th
Then October 9th,
and October 9th.
both
18th
Wednesdays.
and October 9th. I'm going to be out of town. Oh, no, I canceled that. They're good for me.
Lindsay, you good with that?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Next item is Planning Commission. Next meeting is to be determined. Parks and Public Works, next meeting Monday, August 19th at 5 o'clock. Health and Safety, next meeting Monday, September 9th at 5 o'clock. Excuse me. Personnel Committee, meeting report. Are you ready for that, Maureen?
Sure. The only, let's see, we did you'll see the personnel handbook updates that are in your packet for tonight for approval. We did pass those. They're fairly minor changes in the personnel manual. And we did Matt's review, and all of you might have, should have received a copy of that. So, and I want to say that we are really appreciative of Matt's efforts, both in the quality and in the quantity of projects that he handles. And the leadership of the staff and what the staff handle as well. Thank you so very
Thank you.
much, you all.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank Maureen. She did a really great job on putting all the information together for the
bless.
Personnel Committee and for gathering all the information for Matt's review. Very good job, thank you. Okay, so then the next meeting for personnel is Wednesday, November 6th at 5 o'clock. I got a tickle here, hang on. Excuse me. Next item on the agenda is communication and new business. Public comments. The City Council will receive public comments on any issue not related to the agenda. Limited discussion by the council may take place. However, no action will be taken on any item, include receiving a written request or documentation and possible action at a future meeting. Next item on the agenda is approval of Prescott employee handbook changes. Matt, you want to take that?
Thank you, Barry. Yes. So there are 4 changes that are being proposed within the handbook. Most of them have to do with the variable hours that our employees are working, so getting that sort of more flexible for them. The first change is proposing that a standard work week, since all of our departments all have fluctuating schedules and different schedules. Police department, the officers are dictated by the contract. Library has different schedule. Public Works has summer hours versus winter. So instead of having a defined set of hours, we're proposed changing it to the standard work week for employees shall be defined by department heads or the city administrator with any hours of operations changes needing approval by the city council or the library board. So for instance, recently we just changed the city hall and police department hours, and we brought that before you for approval. Temporary changes can still be made by department heads as well. Second change is to holidays. With the variable changes, our current handbook states that employees shall receive 8 hours of holiday pay. However, since we do have that change now, what we're proposing is all regular full-time or part-time employees shall receive their standard schedule work hours in their pay period. So if it's just, it falls on a Friday, whatever your standard schedule is, if it was for Public Works, they would receive in the summer 4 hours. If it was here at City Hall, it'd be 6 hours. If it falls on a Monday, it'd be 8.5 or 9 for Public Works. So it allows more flexibility and still paying those employees for the holidays that they are getting. Health savings account, just proposing changing that to monthly on the first pay period of each month rather than doing it quarterly. This just allows for better benefit setups, better onboarding, and then more flexibility for employees to use their HSA payments. And then finally, payday and time cards. What we're proposing to fall in line with the other changes is for exempt employees or salaried employees, that it shall say they are paid for 40 hours per week. They're not entitled to overtime. However, if an exempt employee is away from the office for the entire day, they must use a full standard hours according to the regularly scheduled work week. So if their regular scheduled work week is 9 hours on a Monday, and then on a Friday they only use 4, they only have to use 4 hours on that Friday rather than forcing them to use 8. So with that, I'll turn over to the council for comments or questions.
I'll motion to approve the Prescott employee handbook changes.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion, a second, to approve the Prescott employee handbook changes. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carried. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is Resolution 33-24, requesting application for exemption from county library tax. Rochelle?
Okay, so I received an email from the Pierce County Clerk, Jamie Feuerhelm, in regards to being exempt from the library tax. I didn't know that was a thing. There were no notes on any resolutions or anything that needed to be done on a yearly basis, so there was a conversation with the clerk, the county clerk on this. This obviously would save the city some money, being if, obviously the implications of not doing this or filing the resolution for tax exemption, then the city itself would be double taxed for the library services. So obviously, it's in our benefit to do so. There is a state statute, obviously, per the memo that relates to this exemption. So I guess if there's any questions you guys might have regarding this, the memo lays it out pretty well. So I guess if there's any specific questions you might have on why we should or should not pass the resolution.
Motion to approve Resolution 33-24, requesting application for exemption from county library tax.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 33-24, requesting application for exemption from county library tax. Is there any discussion on the motion? Not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Next item on the agenda is Resolution 34-24, approving participation in the Wisconsin Department of Transportation's Transportation Alternative Program for bike/pedestrian planning study. Matt?
Thank you, Mayor. So in October of 2023, City Council approved working with Cedar Corporation to submit a grant through the Wisconsin Transportation Alternatives Program, otherwise known as TAP. So I'll just call it TAP from here on out, so I don't have to repeat all that. But basically, what this looks at is the connectivity from essentially the St. Croix Bluffs neighborhood into the main, I will use quotations, the main part of Prescott, but in order to cross and trying to look at what's the best option that would work with the Wisconsin Department of Transportation for making that crossing, whether it be an underpass, an overpass, or an at-grade crossing. So that's the objective. We did apply for that. We did find out back in July of this month, or July of last month, I should say, that we received that grant. And what that grant is, it's a federal grant that goes through the state of Wisconsin DOT and then gets passed through for the opportunity to do planning and look at this. In total, we receive up to a maximum of $194,106. The city is responsible for the remaining 20%, which is $48,526. Well, we're not asking for that allocation of funding here tonight. All we're asking for is the approval of the agreement and be able to sign it to the DOT. However, as part of that, we're essentially saying we will be allocating those funds in the future. So what is being considered right now is because the agreement with Cedar Corporation will come at a later date, so essentially that is likely to come in October. We'd bring that to you for approval, and if that was approved, then we'd look at budgeting this expense for 2025, and the main part of this work would happen then in 2025. So again, basically just asking for approval to sign the agreement, either the mayor or myself, send that to the DOT so we can sign documents moving forward regarding this. And then the main scope of the work would be put together by Cedar Corporation with the cost to be brought forward to you at a future date. So I'll turn it over to Councilor comments and questions.
So you're saying for them to do a study, it's $252,000,
So what the scope of work right now-
194 plus our 48,000 plus, just to take a study?
So that's the maximum of what we submitted the grant for. It could come in lower than that. It does include environmental studies, so if we're going to be ripping up the road and putting in an underpass, overpass, there is certain environmental studies, transportation studies that the DOT is going to want to see, and then all the public meetings and putting that together. So it's not a firm allocation of funds, but it also is what it's the maximum allocated that can be funded.
And I heard that you can't put anything over Highway 10, correct?
Correct.
So would it be just an underpass
Well-
or a light or something of that nature?
I mean, you can't put anything over, I do believe there are overpasses in Wisconsin, so.
Well, that's why I thought, that's why I was kind of curious.
I know the DOT has said that they prefer not to do overpasses and that they want to try to stay away from them, but again, that's part of the study before is to look at all three options, and it's really the whole purpose is to work with the DOT and get a plan that the DOT is going to approve as well, so we could potentially keep moving this forward.
I think it's good. It's something that's definitely needed to bridge, that whole section of the city with the main part of the city, Bluffs with the rest of the city, and Fairy Wonderland Park. And I know my ward, which is up there, I hear a lot about this from everybody, so it's good.
I'm not arguing the point about having this. It seems like an awful lot of money for a study.
It's up to.
Well, it's the max. It's up
It's
to.
the max. Usually we have discussion after a motion. Is me.
Oh, okay.
Motion to approve the planning study between the city of Prescott, Cedar, and the Department of the Wisconsin DOT.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion, a second to approve Resolution 34-24, approving a partnership with the Wisconsin Department of Transportation Alternatives Program for a bike/pedestrian planning study.
Will this only be for that crossing, or could we include other crossings as well?
I'm assuming you want one up by Patax then also. Possible.
Up further, yeah.
But specifically looking at crossing Highway 10, 29, in that section somewhere around between, that Canton area, Canton Street crossing, we could inquire if we could include other areas like by Dexter Street or by where Patax is, if that's an option. I will note that the reconstruction of the municipal agreement we signed with the DOT for the 2028-2029 project for Highway 10 does include the redoing of the crosswalks at the street. So that's one of the items that DOT is working to address as part of that, is to put in crosswalks so you can actually cross there, and then there'll be a trail that can connect to that part of the business park as well.
Up where the light is?
Yep, with the lights.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a small little note. On here it says bike pedestrian, and I know that we've talked in the past about possibly enabling it for golf carts as well, because people like commuting with those. Is that included in the idea and plan, or?
I can reach out to that and see if that's something we can include.
Because I know that's going to change the dimensions on things and stuff, so.
Yeah, if there is an underpass, it would have to be wider. Yeah.
Well, the ones that Woodbury has down there, they're 10-foot wide by 10-foot tall underneath. And there's 3 of them right at the, I can't think the crossroad, but it's on Bailey Road, right by the,
Oh, yeah, yep, I know where that is. Yep.
At Bielenberg?
Yes.
well, it was a naturally low area, so it was easy for them to put all 3 of them in, right at that spot.
Is there any other discussion?
I just have one question. This funding through this TAP program, this is specifically only for a planning study. This is not completely separate from funding for actually completing this project?
Correct, so this would just be for the planning, and then if we move forward with the DOT approved plan, then we'd have to go through another round of applications for the actual funding of the specific work.
Through the TAP program again, for the actual work?
That's generally, from my understanding of talking with our city engineer, that's what most communities do. If they get this, then they move forward, and once the DOT approves the plan, they apply for funding through the same program.
But it's not guaranteed that,
As far as I'm aware,
We
it's
would
not.
get
It's all going to be
funding.
scoring. Obviously, if we go through this, the scoring will help us because the DOT will work through us, but no, it
Sure.
won't be guaranteed by any sense.
so hypothetically, we could spend up to $48,000 as a city and have a plan in place, but not have funding to actually do the project, potentially.
Correct.
Okay.
If we're relying specifically on a grant through the TAP to do it, yes.
What,
There's no guarantee we'll continue to see TAP funding.
is there a rough estimate what this is gonna cost per tunnel or whatever you wanna call it? Or there's,
Not until we get up.
Not till we get an
There's not
idea.
even a plan in place in terms of looking at what we want to do to get that rough estimate.
okay,
Because you might have to buy land,
well,
because if you do a tunnel, you need X amount of room on either end of it for,
Correct.
for in and out, then you have to put drainage in them.
Well, and they have to-
lighting and,
well, yeah, I forgot my camera since I was or phone, because I had to take pictures of what the ones up in Woodbury look
Oh,
like.
I'd like to see those.
But that's just something to keep in
Yeah.
mind. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is Resolution 35-24, approving an agreement with Cedar Corps for conceptual planning services for $32,000. Matt?
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm going to give a quick introduction before I turn it over to Corey with Cedar Corporation. But so in January 2024, I guess preceding that, we approved the space needs study for our buildings for police, fire, city hall, and library with Cedar Corporation. That was presented by Corey then back in January of this year. After looking at conditions, then we also brought it forth and discussed it further on June 5th of this year. And we have now worked with Cedar Corporation to kind of put together a proposal for the next step in terms of actually putting together building scenarios. I just want one note before I turn it over to Corey, is that if we do end up moving forward with this, the proposed funding is to come out of the building impact fees that we collect. So those are impact fees that we collect on new development. 75% will come from that. State statute does not let us use impact fees for administration or city hall purposes, so that specific 25% would come through capital funds. So with that, I'll turn it over to Corey here with Cedar Corporation to go over the actual proposal and walk you through it.
Thank you, Matt.
You have to come up here to the podium,
Oh, sure.
tell us who you are and all that good stuff. Thank you.
You betcha. Well, good evening. My name is Corey Scheidler. I'm the Director of Architecture for Cedar Corporation. Been working here in Prescott for probably a little over 20 years now, so familiar with all your facilities. As Matt has indicated, earlier in the year, we did complete the needs analysis for all your facilities. Well, I shouldn't say all your facilities. City Hall, library, police, fire, and then the EMS garage that's in the police building. So moving on, the next step will be to evaluate what that means in terms of facilities. So we're going to look at two options. One of those options is going to be completing a conceptual design for a new facility over in the ball field site. The second option will be looking at the site up in the industrial park. So that'll be a little bit further down the road, but hopefully spur some activity in your industrial park. As part of that, we're going to do an option A and B for each one of those, where we'll actually look at this building and what it would take to renovate and expand this building to serve City Hall and library and possibly a community function. So with that, we're going to start out, hopefully, if everything gets approved this evening, we'll start in December with a kickoff meeting, kind of revisit the recommendations and review the priorities of each department. Moving into late September and October, we're going to review the proposed sites. We've already got some information on the zoning and setbacks, so we can come up with some options, recommendations, discuss the challenges and opportunities of each site. And then moving into October and November, we're going to start on the heavy lift, which is a conceptual design, and we'll be able to bring back some options of what this could look like in terms of a footprint and how those departments would be positioned in the building. More so for emergency services, it becomes a little bit more necessary to evaluate traffic patterns and flows, how volunteers are coming into the fire department, how the emergency vehicles are leaving. If there is a city administration component to this building, what does that look like for visitors coming to the building, employees within the building, big events like voting and things like that. So as we get through that conceptual design phase, you're going to have kind of a vision of what this might look like on the site. Is there enough room? How do we address some of these stormwater needs that we have to address? And then from there, we can move into the budgeting and cost estimating. That's really the goal, is to come out with a plan and a budget so you can start to project out. I think Matt had indicated looking at 2029 for construction. That's not very far away. So as we get into that estimating phase, we'll put contingencies in there. We'll add escalation factors. And then as you start to approach 2029, we'll have to start working on that plan and getting more detail, diving into this a little bit, getting a more refined budget. But this will be kind of that 30,000 foot view, if you will, when we're done with this phase. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Which ball field is it affecting? I've forgotten.
It's the one across from
The
Fire Hall. Fire Hall,
Just-
Actually,
right?
Sorry, right over
Right
here
across
is
the
the one
road
that
from here.
Oh, right
we could
across from
propose.
here.
Yep.
it'd be the northeast corner of that
Oh, okay.
school site.
Behind tax or right across? There's
across,
two
right.
there, right?
Oh, okay, they changed that.
Yeah, if you were to walk out the front steps here, it'd be right out there.
So is it going to be proposed to be a brick and mortar building, not a pole barn construction?
No.
No more of
If-
those ever.
If you allow my recommendations, yes, we would be looking at some alternatives for the construction of your building, maybe a combination of different materials, but generally speaking, what I like to propose on a public safety building is either a masonry construction or a precast construction. I don't know that I'm going to be around in 70 years, but I certainly hope that this building is. A building like this is gonna last. It's a 100-year building, right? Now, that's not to say that in 15 years you're going to have to do some maintenance. At 30 years, you're probably going to experience some type of renovation because the use has changed. These buildings have a life because, as you're aware, everything we do in our business and government changes and evolves. So these buildings will undergo some renovation and things. But the goal is to provide the city with a building that's going to take you through the next 100 years.
Thank you.
Will you be looking at green kind of aspects as well towards building a more green environment?
Certainly. So green and sustainability is kind of the new standard in everything we do, even to the point that the codes that we work within drive some of that. And then we can present some options and discuss alternatives that may be important to the city as we move forward.
Including solar options or wind?
Yeah, there's a lot of alternatives. I know another entity that is going through, they actually studied geothermal and looked at solar, and it looks like they're going to go to the solar alternative. But, we've done geo, we've done a lot of different options. I've done wind, so pretty much anything you can imagine we've looked at.
There's one house in your neighborhood that has geo construction. That was very interesting.
Yeah, geo is it's another alternative, and what I like to look at is the upfront cost versus a payback. That's really what it boils down to. Long-term operation, long-term maintenance cost, because being in the business for a number of years, I know your budgets are always tight, and they don't seem to go with inflation always, so things cost more and you're forced to do more with less. So we'll try to position the city for success as you move through this process.
Just a quick discussion on the two options. This is very preliminary in terms of planning, and obviously if that across the street were purchased, we'd still have to work and negotiate with the school district to see if that's something they'd, be interested in selling. We'd also look at, replacing that field elsewhere, so just before, to cover those bases, to make sure that people are aware. I mean, we're talking 2029, so we're still 5 years away, but at the same time, as Corey pointed out, it's in terms of trying to get funding figured out, and if we're gonna move forward with whatever option we end up doing, there's still a lot of things to figure out in that timeframe, so.
And if it was to go there, it's not like we're losing the baseball field. We would help relocate that or find another spot, so. Yeah.
One thing, I'll just piggyback off that too, is as you're looking out over, the next 5-7 years for this project, oftentimes grant opportunities come up. Having a start on this will be beneficial if those opportunities present themselves. I think we're going to see something in public safety. It's been a while since we've seen something come down with public safety for funding or grant opportunities. I'm hopeful that we'll see something like that in the next 5 to 10 years.
And Matt and his office have been very good with finding us that funding, so.
Thank you.
You are certainly welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, look for a motion to approve Resolution 35-24.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 35-24, approving an agreement with Cedar Corporation for conceptual planning services for not exceeding $32,500.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second to approve Resolution 35-24, approving the agreement with Cedar Corps for conceptual planning services for $32,500. Is there any discussion on the motion? Now I'll do a roll call. Mike?
Aye.
Maureen?
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
Gar?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Lindsay?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is Resolution 36-24, approving the purchase and outfitting of a Ford Police Interceptor utility vehicle for $63,063. Matt?
Thank you, Mayor. So unfortunately, police vehicles have become a lot more expensive very quickly, far outpacing what we've seen with inflation even, and especially this year. Within your memo before you, there is a chart that kind of shows you the overall value of what we've purchased police vehicles from 2016 till today. Essentially, the police department has looked at options in terms of outfitting the vehicle, which is one of the costs that increasingly goes up. Unfortunately, this is the cheapest option that we have at $17,076. Decals are also included in this price, and then just the vehicle in itself, we've seen a 34% increase from last year to this year in terms of just the vehicle. So we do have within the budget for this year $40,000 that we set aside in terms of our capital improvement plan. This was done back in 2022 and we did it.
Okay.
However, with that being said, since costs have increases, we're coming back because it is additional, essentially $23,063 than what really put forward to you. And so we're asking for your approval to go forward with the purchase of the vehicle through the capital fund. And so I'll turn it over for comments and questions. We do have about just over $300,000 in our capital fund that is unallocated. So that's where we'd be retaking the reserves from.
So we did budget for a police vehicle for this year, correct?
We did, and to be fair, we did expect it to come under. If you remember, there's occasions where specifically, like for instance, Freedom Park, we put in new boilers and we budgeted too much, and somebody at that time stated, we should really try to bring it more in reason, which we tried to do. We knew it was probably going to be under what was expected. We didn't expect it to be under this much to what it is.
That isn't the one that they said they had ordered in April by any chance, is it? Or is this a new vehicle?
This is a new vehicle that was,
Okay.
Are they looking at hybrid or electric for the future?
we haven't started looking at that. That's something we could, as we move forward with the cars.
Electric though will be about another half again.
Not, well, they're supposed, I don't know. Who can predict?
Yeah.
But I do think we should begin to look at the hybrids and the electrics for future purchases. Because eventually we will have to make a contribution to meeting those environmental.
And keep in mind, then you have to put in EV charging station. It isn't just buying a vehicle,
No,
then
I know.
it's on top of that.
And a cruiser is gonna be operated quite a lot, and I don't see the battery.
I don't know whether,
Yeah.
I haven't heard of any police departments going with hybrid in small towns and stuff, maybe in the larger cities.
Hybrids aren't quite so bad because during the cold season, there's plenty of them that say 300 mile and they end up with 50, 60 during the cold.
Yes, cold was a problem last winter with some.
So anyway, it's just something to keep in mind.
Future.
Yeah.
Well, that and Tesla and GM are now working for hydrogen, so you don't know where it's going to go.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah, I'm not surprised on that, 'cause battery is not.
Okay, so I'll be looking for a motion to approve Resolution 3624.
I so move.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion, a second to approve Resolution 3624, approving the purchase and outfitting of Ford Police Interceptor utility vehicle for $63,063. Is there any discussion on the motion? Not, I'll go with a roll call. Lindsay?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Dar?
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
Maureen?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is approval of St. Croix Bluffs Park for youth football team practice from August 13th through October 12th. Matt?
Thank you, Mayor. So this year, the Prescott area parents are putting together a youth football team made up of 5th and 6th grade students to take part in Little Hastings Raider Football League, which is run by Hastings Youth Little Raiders Board of Directors. So they will have a team, but they will be playing in Hastings, but one of the things they're looking for is an opportunity to practice here in Prescott. So with the discussion, the city has proposed using St. Croix Bluffs Park for the practice location. This would run from August 13th to October 12th. As part of this, the team would also then stripe a portion of the field to create a partial football field. We did reach out to our insurance company just to verify that we're set, and they said there are no worries with allowing the field to be used for practice. So I'll turn it over for council for comments and questions.
Are they talking about putting it in the, where they used to play soccer?
They still do play soccer there, from
Oh,
what I
okay.
understand. It's just they're not using it anymore. They, I think, end in July, I believe.
Yeah.
I can't see any reason. Can anybody else?
I'll make a motion to approve the St. Croix Bluffs Park for youth football team practices from August 13th to August 12th of 2024.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the St. Croix Bluffs Park for youth football team practice from August 13th to October 12th. Is there any discussion on the motion? Not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Okay. Next item on the agenda is other business. First is a joint Prescott Common Council with the Prescott Board of Education meeting on this Wednesday, August 14th at 5 o'clock here at City Hall. And Board of Review is this Thursday, August 15th from 4 to 6. Is there any other business? Not, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Motion to go into closed session.
Second?
Here we have a motion and a second to go into closed session. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, I'll do a roll call. Mike?
Aye.
Maureen?
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
Dar?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Lindsay?
Aye.
Okay, we're in closed session.